Welcome to PerrisScope, where we discuss the advantages of owning and growing your business in the city of Perris, California, while featuring the stories of those business owners whose companies are enjoying success here in Perris. I'm Jeff Allen. Good to be back with you. Thanks again for tuning in. On this segment, we're profiling Stretch Forming Corporation with a 45-year history as a pioneer in the manufacturing space. To tell us more about it is the president and CEO of Stretch Forming Corporation, Mr. Brian Geary. Brian, it's welcome. Nice to have you.
Pleasure.
Let's talk about Stretch Forming Corporation, first of all, kind of giving us kind of an overview. You folks are in the metal forming business, and you really do a lot of business throughout a variety of industries, but tell us a little bit more about exactly what it is that you do and really some of your primary customers and which industries they fall in.
You bet. We're primarily in the aerospace manufacturing business. That's where this process came out of Stretch Forming itself. This came out of right around World War II. And we literally are stretching metal to create all the curves you see throughout the aircraft, all the skins, the extrusions, profiles that go throughout, obviously, a contoured airplane.
Brian, let's talk about the history. We touched on the fact that we've learned about the history of your company, which is all right there at stretchformingcorp.com. But talk to us about the evolution of the company. Always in the metal forming business, always working with aircraft. Give us some kind of insight into the background.
It's been evolving, primarily aerospace now. Aerospace industry is doing quite well right now. The industry is booming. But we also focus on rail car work, architectural work. The skylights you see at many of the malls, we probably contoured. We do some other transportation work. We do some signage work. It just, we're a build-to-print shop. Our process is used an awful lot more than one might realize. It's seen in everyday items that we all just take for granted out there. But I'd say 90% of our focus is in the aerospace industry. It is, like I said, booming right now.
How do you see that as impacting your company moving ahead? And are you already beginning to see kind of the fruits of some of that labor that's coming across because so many small companies are getting into that area?
Well, you know, most fortunately or unfortunately, however you want to look at it, most of our competitors are usually large companies. The advantage we have is we have an awful lot of equipment. We're very vertically integrated. We can do our machining, our tool design, our heat treating, our forming, our fab in-house. We control those costs, and we're very nimble. You go to the larger companies, they really can't compete with us as well. So that is our competitive edge. Plus, we have a fairly low overhead. The City of Perris has, the facility we have we got it at a very cost-effective price back in 2010, and that is our edge, if you will. And we're going to, the aerospace, we see a 5 to 10 year window of a lot of work right now. They just can't seem to keep up with the production needs.
You know, when you talk about being a pioneer in the metal forming industry, obviously, as time goes by, there's going to be more and more competition. How do you stay on top? What is it that you do? Because you're one of the little guys, as you've talked about. Right. So how do you stay ahead of the game? How do you stay ahead of the competition?
Well, we have more forming equipment than most larger publicly held competitors. We have an awful lot of equipment, so it's 100% owned by myself. So the fact that we can be very nimble. Customers tend to change their needs almost weekly. The industry is very demanding. You have to perform, and it's unforgiving. And of course, we're making aerospace parts. They have to be 100% correct and on time. So our job is to service the customer and just overkill that service to the customer.
What do you think are your biggest competitive advantages for Stretch Forming Corporation right now? Biggest assets, contributors to your success?
Well, obviously, it's the people. It's always the people. If you surround yourself with the right people, the people that are, quite frankly, smarter than you are, especially in their particular area. My job is to get the best people there, so I'm not there as much. So that's what we're working on the most, and get it so they're a little more autonomy. So we're always hiring, always looking for right people. We're growing at a pretty fast clip, but you got to grow intelligently. One of the biggest mistakes a business can make is taking on too much all at once and not performing. So you've got to kind of be careful there.
So getting that return on your investment in terms of human capital, you're able to get that in the city where you are in Riverside County, of course, in the city of Perris.
Correct.
In particular, and that's really important. Obviously, you're talking always about one of the greatest expenses that any company has in terms of its people. And so that's really huge. What about some of the other things that you kind of found appealing really about the city of Perris when you decided to locate in town? What was it about Perris that made you decide to come in?
Well, we went looking for facilities back in 2009, 10, and we stumbled across a couple facilities in Perris, and we visited with the city managers and Mike McDermott there, the economic development man, and the meeting went quite well. They were very positive. They made it apparent they would work with us. So that was a big reason that we actually pulled the trigger and purchased the 100,000 square foot facility on 15 acres in Perris, and now we're looking to expand on that. And we've put additional offices in there, and the city has worked with us very well. Very reactive, and so I mean it's been a blessing. You know, as opposed to some of the other cities, you might run into a lot more. They might not have the sense of urgency that one needs in business. We really can't wait, a month for somebody to make a decision.
Business can't wait until you've got red tape and you've got all those hurdles and rings of fire to jump through.
Correct.
You don't have the time to be able to do that. So the process was pretty smooth from the time you had your first meetings to now.
Very smooth. And then we went with the city council. They were able to give us a few dollars as well. I mean, a nice check, and it was just great. And we did our part. We hired many people, locals, and I think it's been a great win-win situation for both of us. Like I said, we're looking to expand and hire more. So I just say the future's pretty bright for both parties, and I just I feel very fortunate that we're able to run into the city of Perris and this facility.
Really kind of an interesting story too, because in the beginning, if memory serves correctly, just from some of my research that I've done, the intention, the impetus behind kind of coming to the city was your interest in kind of consolidating your operations. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And now all of a sudden, you're going the other way. You're going to expand a little bit.
We are on 15 acres, so we have another 8 acres to grow. So we're looking to build another 50,000 square feet. But we had two facilities, one in Murrieta, one in Rialto, which we moved into this facility here. And it's a gorgeous facility. It shows very well. And we are centrally located. We go to LA, Orange County, and San Diego. The customers come to us throughout the country and the world. We get them in at least weekly. We have customers fly in and visit with us.
I think that's an interesting point that you bring up, because one thing that we talk to our guests about is, why it's important to them, the advantages to them of bringing their business to the city. But the customers also benefit too from having a business that they can do business with and have it be in a location that's right for them. I mean, from a logistics standpoint, really too, as far as your suppliers are concerned.
Correct.
This kind of works out.
I'm glad you brought that up. Southern California is still an aerospace center, and as far as the vendors are, and we still have to subcontract quite a bit, the finishing and things like that, even though we try to do as much as we can in-house. And we need those vendors, and we are blessed to have that vendor base is still there. So we're very fortunate to have that here. And as you may, or people may or may not know, this area is turning into a logistics center. So people cannot afford to have warehouses in LA County and Orange County. They're all sold out. So people are building out here in Riverside County, Perris, etc., to warehouse their products. Some very large corporations.
You have a lot of people that work for Stretch Forming Corporation and people that you were able to bring in right here in the city. You're able to take and hire and train. What do the people tell you about the area in terms of living here, the livability, the lifestyle, and just kind of all that it affords?
Well, all it takes is one to check the housing pricing. It'll take you about 5 minutes to realize that there's the significance of getting twice a house for half the price out here versus Orange County or LA. It is very important that we hire people that live around the facility, because what you don't want to do at the end of the day after putting in a long day is drive another 2 hours to get home.
Right. Right. If you have a chance to sit down with other business owners, and maybe these are folks who are considering their next move, and maybe they've got a company that they're ready to scale up and they're ready to kind of make some important decisions, what would you tell them based on your experience, your business, the success that you've had with Stretch Forming Corporation, and then of course the success that you've continued to find being in the city of Perris? What would you tell them if they had some questions about pulling the trigger and relocating and maybe expanding their company in this area?
It's funny you ask me that, because I have some vendors that come out and see us, and they go in retrospect, they're grandfathered in where they're at in Orange County and LA. But if they could move their facility, they would move it out here. They've said, "Boy, you made the smart move being out here in the city of Perris." They look at what we have. They look at the space. They look at the housing pricing. They look at the labor market, and they say, well, if they had to do it over again, they would be out here.
Let me ask you, kind of in closing, with respect to where you folks are headed with Stretch Forming Corporation. I mean, obviously, the future looks bright, but what are your plans? What's your vision, kind of looking maybe a year to 5 years out?
We want to hire probably another 20, 30, 40 people the next few years. And get it so that get that other facility built, the other 50,000 square feet, expand our machining capabilities. So we have the heat treat, we have the forming, we have the tool design, we have the fabrication, of course the inspection, all under roof, and so we can be a one-stop shop for our customers and get it about 50% larger than it is.
But as a business owner too, I would think that location is really, really critical for a variety of reasons. I mean, how do you feel about it?
Well, obviously, I can give you three very solid reasons. Location, value-wise, as far as the real estate itself, if you look at the land value and the buildings for what you get versus, say, somewhere else in Southern California, it speaks for itself. It's a heck of a bargain, and we're very happy with the value that we got out in Perris. Then, of course, the employees, we have a nice labor pool out here, and they drive maybe 10, 15 minutes to work. And the location of the facility to San Diego, to Orange County, to Riverside, to LA, it's right there. So we have our vendors there, we have our customers there. Obviously, we have customers throughout the world and throughout the U.S., but we have an awful lot of them here yet in Southern California, and including our vendors that we use, and so this location has worked out perfectly.
Brian, we really appreciate having you on the show and the time that you've taken out of your schedule to join us today on this edition of PerrisScope. And I understand that you've had a chance to check in on some previous editions of this program. How has this show helped you, if at all, in kind of, with regard to your business?
Well, it's interesting you should bring that up. I just happened to be looking at your various episodes, and I came across the New Market Tax Fund with David Tausig. And we are just now looking to expand our facility and build another 50,000 square feet. And it looked like we fit that profile perfectly. Made a phone call to Mike McDermott, the City of Perris, and then I called David Tausig, and we're putting together a package now. And we see substantial savings by using that particular program to be a win-win for both parties.
Well, Brian, it's been a pleasure, and we really do appreciate you sharing so much information, and much continued success with Stretch Forming Corporation.
Thank you very much, Jeff.
You bet. That's going to wrap up this edition of PerrisScope. We hope you enjoyed our chat with Brian Geary, President and CEO of Stretch Forming Corporation. You can learn more about his company by visiting stretchformingcorp.com. If you'd like information about the advantages of starting, expanding, or relocating your business here, we invite you to contact the Economic Development Department at City Hall in Perris by calling 951-943-6100. Again, that's 951-943-6100. Or you can simply visit the city's website at cityofperris.org. For PerrisScope, I'm Jeff Allen.